Ladies and gentlemen, November is going to be one of the most important months for Palantir stock, especially with these new metrics that are predicting its momentum and its revenue metrics within the next 5 years. And if this momentum continues for the AI industry, how the valuation could heavily increase in Palantir as it's a leader in this very competitive sector. Now, if you're new or a returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and I can't thank you guys enough for watching and supporting a smaller creator. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm just collecting the data and dispatching it to you guys. Number one thing that I do want to talk about before we really get into the price action right here is Palantir and why November is going to be critically important. And that is going to be because its third quarter earnings are coming here in just a few short weeks. They're going to be happening on November 2nd. One important thing to note is it's going to be happening pre-market. Now, we've seen some earning per share revisions, actually 5 in the bullish perspective, which is great in terms of the last 90 days. But earnings per share right now, predictions are sitting at about 6 cents per share. In the data analytics company, Palantir is already up over 170%. And that's why you're seeing a strong criticism, is because of the valuation. However, there's still large predictions that Palantir should deliver strong quarter 3 numbers, and especially with the momentum and on a contractual basis that we've seen Palantir making these multi-year contracts with some of its biggest revenue generators, such as government contracts like the Department of Defense contract that was recently signed, really can help bring more predictions about future revenue estimates. Now, quickly looking at the price here, we see Palantir at $17.20, down about 4% on the day. We've seen a little bit of a consolidation here at the 17s, and I'm not really too frustrated in terms of price action right here, especially since Palantir, since kind of later in September, goes from about 13 to 14 bucks and pushes up here to the 18, getting ready for basically those revenue metrics to be coming in. And there's going to be a lot of eyeballs looking as that November 2nd day approaches. Now, trading volumes right under about that kind of moving average at about 50 million, 44 to be exact, and 37 billion in terms of market cap. If we quickly look at some technical analysis, and especially where Palantir is sitting at, you're seeing to see a little bit of a cup and a handle being formed right here. And we've talked about in previous videos some buyback points at about that $20. What's interesting about that $20 buyback point, though, is in terms of the last earnings and quarter earnings that were released, we had resistance touched and tested right here at that $20. As soon as those earnings came out and they were in line, basically, you had a immediate 25% correction with Palantir coming back here into the 15s. We're seeing this pattern being re-geared up exactly how we've seen it before. What could be different about this one is that Palantir could exceed these expectations, especially with the revisions and with the bar that's been set high. Wall Street is really giving it a strong challenge. However, what we've seen is Palantir has already been a data analytics company, and the fact that it's been able in the last few months to incorporate artificial intelligence into its data analytics software helps automate and makes this process even faster. And what we've seen with this is a year-over-year growth of approximately 16%, and that's higher than the growth rate it achieved in the second quarter. What's also important about Palantir here, though, is not just what the quarter earnings are going to report, but what future guidance may be. And why future guidance is really a strong motivator in terms of momentum and emotion coming into the stock is because for people in the long-term trading perspective, really take guidance pretty seriously, and oftentimes it can gain more attention for investors than recent earnings performance. An example I would talk about is like Tesla today reported its earnings, but people are already looking forward Cybertruck deliveries in like 2024 and looking into quarter 4, kind of already just kind of blowing this quarter off. So what comes with guidance is on the horizon of the business, and especially with Palantir generating the bulk of its revenue from government customers. And like I said, that brings credibility to the company and allows Palantir to diversify its client basis. And with AI increasing in popularity and multi-geopolitical issues around the world, we saw this a few weeks ago when Palantir jumped up over 5% in the day due to the conflict that we have with Israel right now, shows the demand for these AI system defense products. And Palantir is a top competitor and leader in this industry, and also working with the AI industry that has a lot of momentum behind it. And the big question that we've seen with with Palantir stock is it going to become part of the S&P 500? And this has been on the radar for many Palantir watchers and investors in the previous few months. And the reason why is because it has reported that quarterly profit for 3 straight periods, and a fourth way would really pay inclusion into the S&P 500, and it's really came a long way from the bottom line, and making it into the index would be a big accomplishment for this stock, basically saying it would be having a lot of inclusion in many funds, and more investors would be starting to buy the tech stock. Then as many people do get into the S&P, into these different type of indexes, Palantir would be included in all those index funds, and it would be a big milestone for the company given its significant market cap that we've seen, and it's likely a matter of when, not if, it will be on the index. And I do agree with Motley Fool on that, basically saying it's going to be only a matter of time as Palantir is continuing to increase. And this goes into this next article talking about how this catalyst of the AI industry could send this Palantir stock flying over the next 5 years. And what we talk about here is the growth opportunity behind Palantir. And this is why this quarter will be interesting, because it'll start to capture the customer growth that we've seen. It's already been increasing, but customer growth based off of the AI, the Palantir Foundry products, the other Palantir products that have been released here in the last 6 months. Those have not been fully captured in terms of earnings reports, in terms of revenue, in terms of customer count. So that will be a big indicator for the long-term future projection of Palantir. And like I said, I agree here with Motley Fool saying that it is sitting on a huge growth potential. And especially right here, within the first 6 months of 2023, it increased 15% compared to the same year about a year ago at about 1 billion. We're talking about revenue here, and expects to finish the year with 2.21 billion in terms of the revenue. So if we go in here and look into the long-term upside and what the analysts are saying Palantir could eventually achieve, they could achieve 5 billion in annual revenue by 2027. Now, this is based on its 2023 revenue estimate of 2.21 billion. A $5 billion revenue for 2027 is not necessarily, I don't think, too unrealistic, but that is considering we do have the momentum that's continuing, customers that are continuing to come to Palantir, diversification among its clientele, which we've already seen. They are the top bidder for that United Kingdom National Health Service contract. They've just recently collaborated with PwC, working to bring AI solutions to their types of firms, not just depending on the government. And with these contracts, these are multi-year contracts, which, like I said, help set up these revenue predictions, considering they're having strong baselines that are continuing to increase from a revenue perspective. And this is really going to play a role in the acceleration in talking about its actual involvement with these different types of commercial customers. Talking about here, even Cisco, JD Power, most important, PwC, like we just mentioned, and others. So estimates of 5 billion by 2025 does put this at a top tier stock in terms of the AI industry. One of the biggest criticisms that we have seen with Palantir, though, is its valuation. And we can't take that, of course, with too much of a grain of salt. And why we say that is because what happens if Palantir does not meet these quarter earnings? And especially right now with everybody putting a lot of eyeballs onto Palantir and expecting them, many analysts and many investors, institutional and retailers are expecting them to beat their quarter earnings. Even I am personally expecting them to beat them. If they don't, we could see this valuation right now that Palantir is trading at nearly 60 times its forward earnings hit it hard. And we could see Palantir possibly come back here to support levels of 14, even possibly come back down, saying, hey, is there too much momentum behind the stock? Really, is there too much valuation and buying pressure that does represent its true revenue metrics? So lots of things that'll be happening here to Palantir in here in the near future. And looking at this revenue growth forecast, I think it'll be interesting to see. We'll check back here in 5 years. Will we have 5 billion in terms of revenue metrics? But it will be interesting. One other big thing that we do need to remember, though, is the AI bubble. And that is in 2023, we've seen a lot of these AI stocks that have really gained a lot of momentum and have gained a lot of buying confidence and a lot of virality. into that. And we've seen that with ChatGPT, we've seen that with OpenAI, we've seen all these other AI solution systems, and everybody's talking about AI. That has really been the internet's favorite word for 2023. So we do need to take that with a grain of salt, because what happens if things happen with AI and hey, maybe it's not as big as we thought it was going to be, then we could see Palantir and the interest in it generally, of course, across all the other AI stocks, have a little bit of a correction, have a little bit of a cool off, profit taking that could also easily happen. And that's where the speculation and more of the higher risk comes for of these individual stocks. So that's really about it. Happy, you guys. Take care. Peace out. We'll see what happens. What do you guys think? Let's talk in the comments, and I'll talk to you later.